Hey, what's up? Today I'm gonna show you guys the 5 best tasting potato dishes you can possibly make at home. Each recipe in this video outlines a specific technique or 2 that I learned working in restaurants, so you know everything here is well tested and actually delivers delicious results. Ooh, and stick around for the last dish because it's something that I think a lot of home cooks have tried and failed to get right, but the technique that I'm gonna show you actually makes the entire process pretty bulletproof. First up is a dish called potato pave. Think potato gratin, but no cheese and much crispier. To make it, I'll start with 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, then I'll just peel them. I like to do that onto some parchment or a plate so that the cleanup is a lot easier. And once I've got balled potatoes, I'll grab my mandoline and slice these things thinly. If you ever had trouble with a mandoline before, notice how I'm holding the potato. My dominant hand is scrunched up into a claw, and my thumb, which is by far the most at-risk finger here, is tucked up behind the potato so that it doesn't get caught up on the blade at any point. Don't push the potato into the blade, glide it down towards the bottom of the mandoline. Thickness wise, I'm looking for maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It should be quite thin. Once all 3 pounds of potatoes are mandolined, I'm going to toss them with 200 grams of heavy cream. This will keep the potatoes from turning gray with oxidation, and it'll provide some delicious dairy fat for the pave. Now before I build this thing, I'm going to drop 1 stick of butter into a little saucepan and melt it. Then I'm going to grab some not melted butter and smear that all over the bottom of an 8x8 brownie pan or an equivalent sized baking dish. Next, I'll drop in a piece of parchment paper that I cut down to about 7 inches wide. Next, a bit more smearing of butter on the parchment paper. Then I'm going to start building this thing by layering my sliced potatoes into the pan. That's going to be about 18 to 20 slices per layer, overlapped slightly, but there's no need for perfection here. And once my potatoes are laid out, I'm going to take some of that melted butter from a second ago and brush a little bit on top. I'm going for maybe a teaspoon per layer. Behind the butter comes a small pinch of salt, then a few cranks of black pepper. Then I'll repeat that potato, butter, salt, pepper process about 18 to 20 more times, depending on how thick your potatoes are. Next, the pan's gonna get covered with foil, then thrown into a 350F oven to bake for 80 to 90 minutes. About 80-ish minutes later, I'm gonna pull out this pan and test the potatoes for doneness. I like to do that with a cake tester or a thin paring knife. And when you poke it, it should feel tender, but there should still be distinctive potato texture throughout. You want some bite, but not so much that it feels fibrous or undercooked. Next, I'll drop another layer of parchment paper on top of the cooked potatoes. Then I'll drop a matching 8x8 brownie pan, then 2 28-ounce cans of tomatoes. This is going to gently press the layers of potato together so that as they cool, they become one solid clod of set starch. 30 minutes later, my pave has cooled a bit, so I'm going to throw it into the fridge to chill overnight or for at least 2 hours if you're short on time. The next day, I'm going to pull this thing out of the fridge, then cut it down into searable pieces. For that, I'll flip it out onto a cutting board, then cut off the edges real quick. Ooh, look at that. 20 layers of creamy potatoes all stuck together. Now I'm gonna cut this 8-inch square into strips, then I'll cut those strips down into 1.5 to 2-inch thick pieces. This is gonna give us a piece that will heat through quickly with plenty of surface area to crisp up. Next, I'll move over to the stove and glug in a very generous amount of olive oil, maybe like a 1/4 cup. Then I'll drop my paves into the oil and fry them on the first side for about 4 minutes, or however long it takes them to look like this. From here, I'm going to flip all these things over and fry them on the backside over medium heat for another 4 to 5 minutes. And that's how you make crispy layered potato pave. Yes, this recipe does take 2 days, but most of the people who watch these videos aren't afraid of a little art project for the weekend. And this is a serious dazzler, you guys. Let's taste it. You can taste every single layer of potato. They're all equally tender, but they all have just a tiny little bit of bite. Normally you would serve this with a delicious steak and maybe like a demi-glace, but I'm a sinful little bad boy, so I'm gonna serve mine with a lot of ketchup. Wow. Truly, this is an insanely good way to eat potatoes. It's great for dinner, or even better for a fancy day off breakfast. Throw some crispy pave next to some over easy eggs and snuggle up to a hot cup of coffee from the sponsor of this video, Trade Coffee. Trade is America's #1 specialty coffee marketplace. They bring together the top independent roasters from across the US, then match you with coffees that you'll love. I'm actually lucky that I live close to one of their roasters here in St. Louis, Blueprint Coffee, but Trade sends me coffees that I would have never known about otherwise. otherwise, like this one from Red Rooster Coffee in Floyd, Virginia. This is their water processed decaf because I'm sensitive, but it's just a great tasting cup of coffee that has hints of citrus and dark chocolate. To me, it doesn't even matter that much what equipment I use to brew this coffee. Most mornings I just use this old-fashioned drip machine, and the coffee that I make from Trade is still delicious and way better than anything that I'm gonna get from the grocery store. That's because Trade only sends high-quality, freshly roasted beans. These Red Rooster beans were roasted just earlier this week. Head to drinktrade.com/Brian to get your first bag free. Trade guarantees that you're gonna love it so much that they'll replace it for free if you don't. That's drinktrade.com/Brian for your first bag for free when you subscribe. Up next is ultra creamy, ultra smooth French restaurant style potato puree. To make them, I'll drop 5 pounds of peeled russet potatoes into about 6 quarts of water, turn the burner up to high, and bring everything to a boil. Once it's ripping, I'm gonna drop the heat to medium low and gently simmer these potatoes for 20 to 30 minutes. 25 minutes later, when I pull one of these out and drop in my cake tester, it feels completely tender all the way through. That's important because potatoes that are even slightly undercooked are gonna end up mega gluey once we puree them. Once I got these things laid out onto a sheet tray, I'm gonna throw them into a 350F oven to dry out for about 10 to 15 minutes. This is a restaurant move that allows me to evaporate any extra water that the potatoes soaked up during cooking. It prevents thin, loose potato puree and allows me to replace some of that water with something more flavorful, like melted butter. 15 minutes later, when I pull these out, you can see that the potatoes are not roasty looking, but they are much drier than they were before. Next, I'm gonna slide these potatoes into the pot that I cooked them in. Then I'll add in 250 grams or 2 sticks of butter, then 10 grams of salt. Next, I'll use a masher or a ground beef smusher to crush the potatoes into a paste along with the butter. Once that's all mixed together, I'll add in 175 to about 225 grams of heavy cream and mix that in. Now is where we turn these mashed potatoes into a silky smooth potato puree. So I'm gonna load them into my cone-shaped fine mesh strainer, grab a ladle, then push them through. I'm not gonna lie, this straining process is laborious and takes about 10 minutes, but the potatoes that come out of the bottom of this thing are the smoothest, softest thing that you're gonna eat this year. Truly. Oh, and link to this restaurant style strainer in the description if you want one. It's great. Okay, as these things are cooling down, they're thickening a little bit, so I'm gonna add in a few more splashes of cream, stir that in, and then keep on pushing the potatoes through. And once these are passed through, you can see that we've got buttery, creamy, potato flavored baby food. These are one of life's purest treats. Now let's taste it. That is unbelievably smooth. Wow. It does need a little bit of salt though. The recipe listed is suggestions. The amount of salt and butter and cream are all gonna kind of depend on the potatoes, how much they're cooked, what their temperature is. I'm also adding just a little bit more butter in. Ooh, it's nasty. It's downright nasty. Like pave, potato puree is something usually reserved for fine dining restaurants, but it's not hard to make at home, just a little bit laborious. I recommend treating your lover to these potatoes sometime soon and just see what happens. You'll probably get a kiss on the lips. Next up is a crispy pan-roasted potato dish that I call Crushertons. To make them, I'll start with 3 to 4 pounds or 1 bag of waxy baby gold potatoes. Sub in fingerling potatoes if you can't find these, but don't use any other style of potato. This style of potato is super high in pectin, which is a fancy way of saying that it holds itself together really well under stress, which, as you'll see in just a second, is very important. Now drop these potatoes into a pot, then pour over just enough water to cover. There we go. Next in goes a lot of salt, like 3-4 finger grips at least. Don't be shy. Then a few spriggies of thyme, 1 sprig of rosemary, then 4 to 5 garlic cloves. Next, I'll move this pot over to the stove, and ooh, yeah, I want to add in some lemon peel here as well. This is going to bring the citrusy aroma of lemon without its acidity. Next, I'll bring this up to a boil, then turn the heat down to low and slowly cook these baby potatoes for about 25 minutes. Don't hard boil these because that's going to make them soggy and mushy and very hard to crisp later on. After 25 minutes, I'm going to snatch a few of these out of the water and test them with my cake tester. Just like for the pave, these should allow the tester to pass through with little resistance, but there should also be texture. Err on the side of slightly less cooked here than overcooked. Next, I'll drop these potatoes on a plate, then throw them in the fridge for about 30 to 60 minutes to set the starch in the potato and to get them nice and cold. From here, once they're cooled, I'm going to take the palm of my hand and lovingly, tenderly crush this potato into a plank. Now it's nice and flat and has a ton of extra surface area, making it perfect for crisping. Over at the stove, I'm gonna drizzle in a lot of olive oil, maybe about a quarter cup's worth. Then I'll add in all of my crushed potatoes. Don't worry about crowding this pan too much. These potatoes are gonna shrink a lot when we fry them, and we're gonna be tossing them later on. So everything in this pan is gonna get to touch the hotness eventually. And after about 5 minutes over medium-high heat, I'm gonna flip over one of these potatoes, and yeah, it's looking sick as hell. So from here, I'm gonna give the pan a shimmy to flip the potatoes over. Then I'll fry for about 2 minutes on the stovetop, and then throw into a 450-degree oven to roast for about 10 to 15 minutes. Roasting them dries them out a little bit and helps set up the crispiness that we just got on the stovetop. And about 15 minutes later, when I pull these out, you can see they look very unique. This dish is a beautiful combo of fried and roasted potatoes. And it's another restaurant technique that I don't think many home cooks know about. Up next is Patatas Bravas, which is a potato dish that's ubiquitous in Spain, and I ate it no less than 6 times when I was there in 2023. To make it, I'll start with 2 pounds of russet-style potatoes. Then I'll peel them and cut down into planks top to bottom, which are about 1 inch thick, maybe a little bit wider. From there, I'll cut those planks down into chunky cubes. Keep in mind that these are gonna shrink as they cook, and we want a sizable bite-sized chunk. Next, I'll move these things over to the sink and rinse off all the excessive starch. Once washed off, I'm gonna soak for 30 minutes in cold water, or overnight in the fridge. That works even better. Overnight soaking is actually how restaurants make the best quality French fries. This washes out any last remnants of excessive starch and allows for even more crispiness. If you want to learn more about how this works, check out my French fry video. I'll link it down in the description. Next, I'll drain and blot dry the potatoes to remove as much moisture as I can. These are going to be fried in a second, and excessive water causes bubbles, which can be kind of dangerous, and it prevents crispiness. Now, over at the stove, I'll drop these potatoes into about 4 inches of neutral oil that's been heated to 275 F. From here, I'll cook for 6 minutes. I want to cook these most of the way through without getting any browning on them. Next, I'll move these potatoes over to a plate to hang out real quick. Here's what they look like after 6 minutes, by the way. Blonde and soft. That's what we're looking for. Next, I'll turn the heat up under the oil and bring it up to 350 F. Then I'm going to drop those potatoes back in and fry until they're golden brown and crispy, which usually takes about 4 to 5 more minutes. And after 4 minutes, I'm going to move these potatoes over to a paper towel lined bowl to soak up the oil. Then I'll give them a quick toss to blot them off, then a strong pinch of salt to season them up, and then one more toss to bring it all together. Now I'll move these fried potatoes over to a share bowl and top with a generous squiggle of Brava sauce. What's that? It's basically a smoky sweet ketchup that's served with this dish. To make it, I'll squiggle a decent amount of olive oil into a medium heat saucepan, then 25 grams of diced onions, 10 grams of minced garlic, and 5 grams of salt. I'll sizzle that gently until the onion and garlic are translucent. Then I'll add in 75 grams of tomato paste and fry that for about 1 minute, or until it's rusty red and glazing up the bottom of the pot. Next, I'll add in 225 grams of water, 5 grams of cornstarch, 12 grams of paprika, 1 gram of cayenne, 30 grams of red wine vinegar, and 15 grams of honey. I'll bring the whole thing up to a simmer and cook it for 3 to 5 minutes. To finish, the cooked sauce goes into a blender, and then I'll spin it for 2 minutes to totally break down the onions and the garlic. And that's Brava sauce. This is super close to the stuff that I ate at tapas bars in Spain, and it's a real treat. If you don't want to make it, mix a little hot sauce into ketchup and add in some smoked paprika. Back at the potatoes, I'll squiggle on a little bit of mayonnaise. A lot of mayonnaise, actually. That's how they do it in Spain, though. Check out this version that I had in a small town in the outskirts of Rioja. It's like half mayo. Now, let's taste it. It's basically square French fries covered with mayonnaise and smoky, spicy ketchup. It's good. Picture yourself on a sun-drenched stone plaza somewhere, sipping iced red wine, smoking some little tiny cigarettes, and just snacking on this? That sounds amazing. I mean, maybe not the cigarettes part, but everything else sounds sick. For the finale, I'm gonna make a dish that's really tricky for home cooks to get right, mainly because they don't have the proper technique. Of course, I'm talking about crispy, diner-style potatoes. To make it, I'll add 1 gallon or about 4 kilos of water into a large pot, then top with 25 grams of salt and 75 grams of plain white distilled vinegar. I'll explain what this vinegar is doing in here in just a second. For now, the pot goes over high heat, and I'll bring it up to a boil while I prep the potatoes. Next, I'll take 1 pound of peeled and quartered 300 russet potatoes and zip them through the shredder on my food processor. Normally, I don't like offering such gear-specific advice, but the quality of hash browns that were shredded with a machine is undeniably very high. Of course, if you don't have a chopper, you can use a box grater. Just be warned that those potatoes are super thin and they cook faster, and they can end up being a little bit mushy. Okay, once my potatoes are beautifully shredded in the food processor, I'm gonna move over to the boiling vinegar water and drop them in and simmer for 30 to 40 seconds. The vinegar's in the water here to strengthen the pectin bonds in the potato, which help the potato hold on to its stringy texture when we cook them. If you don't use vinegar, the potatoes basically fall apart when blanched. Next, I'm gonna drain these potatoes off and then set them up on a plate or a sheet tray to dry off. Now to brown these things, I'm gonna hit a high heat non-stick pan with a bunch of olive oil. Then I'll add in all of the dried off blanched potato threads into the pan. Then I'll come back with a spatula and gently spread them out so as much of the potatoes are touching the hot oil as possible. From here, I'm gonna sneak the heat down to medium and cook at a relaxed pace for about 10 minutes on the first side. Crisping up hash browns, or any potato for that matter, is basically a process of dehydration. We need to evaporate as much water out of them as possible so that the oil can do its job of browning things up. About halfway through, I'm gonna come back and rotate the pan so that I can make sure the heat is hitting the potatoes evenly. Then I'm gonna cook them for another 5 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I'm gonna come back and get a sneak peek underneath to check on browning. And browning's good, guys. So I'm gonna flip these hash browns over, then spread them out yet again so they're flat in the pan. And once everything's tucked in, I'm gonna hit with a little bit more oil so things fry evenly on the backside, then a few cranks of black pepper and a generous pinch of salt. And after about 20 minutes of cook time in total, I'm gonna give this one more flip. And that's what I personally would call properly cooked hash browns, but if you're a depraved lunatic and you want yours basically charred to a crisp, add another tablespoon of oil and sizzle over medium heat for another 10 minutes. There's no less than 10 different textures of potato happening in this dish at the same time. You've got soft, steamy potatoes in the middle, then you've got this crunchy, extremely brittle potato on the outside with tons of golden brown flavor as well. Then throughout the middle, you've got all these variations of soft and crunchy going on. It's so good. If you want another video full of different techniques for a simple ingredient, check out this video where I show you 3 distinctive ways to make rice taste delicious. Now let's eat this thing.